have a discussion, and maybe have that at the first meeting in September, and the public hearing at the second meeting in September.
Right. The work session.
Is it the motion? Well, the discussion is on the exact motion. I was looking at the calendar again. Mr. Fincham, questions? We need 14 days public hearing advertisement?
This might take longer. This may be longer.
This
may be one of those
this advertising
exceptions.
session?
Yeah.
This 30 days?
We need to look at that in
All right.
terms of advertising.
So we don't even know if the second meeting in September would be a valid date just yet.
Well, that's going to be 30 days, more
Yeah,
than 30 days
that's more than 30 days.
from this meeting.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. The 24th. So
So,
it was
I mean-
30 days.
Right.
All right. Would you modify your motion to say the 24th, if that works, or the soonest meeting after that, in case it's 30, 60 days or something like that?
I will do that.
Is that fine with you?
It'll be the second meeting of September unless regulations prevent it.
Unless advertising requirements mean it's got to be longer.
Then it would be the next available meeting.
That's
But
fine.
I'm thinking that it would be okay for the second meeting.
And we'll probably need a special meeting for it. Okay. You don't think it's longer than 30 days? Okay.
No.
All right. Any more discussion on that particular motion to hold a public hearing? No more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? I'm not finished deciding. Everybody voted yes? All right, 5-1. I voted nay. Okay. So we'll work with Madam Mayor and the Vice Mayor. We'll work with you and your staff or your fellow council members.
What was that word again?
Didn't you hire a water? You hired a water person, right?
We have a water operator, yes.
So you have a water operator. So you have a staff, but we'll work through Mr. Cully and you to set up a date for when we have our work session, which will probably be sometime in between. Okay. Mr. Fincham, you said you want to pull number 5 for me, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you to the board for giving us so much of your time.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes, sir, that was just for first reading, so
Right.
if you
Okay.
want to continue that to the next meeting, we
We'll
can do
continue
that.
the first reading on expedited hearings because basically with all the requirements, any project is going to be an economic development project or something like that, so we all get free expedited hearings. But we'll look at that again later. Item number 6 is continued discussion of the bond payments for YMCA. Mr. Cully, this is just so you can give us an update on the additional funds that were collected.
I included information in your packet that we did receive an extra $10,000 since the payment was made. We initially received the $25,500, and so with the additional $10,000, the amount that was not paid by the capital campaign but paid by the county was $60,062.29. So money is continuing to come in. I would expect that to continue to number to go down.
Okay, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I guess the question is, we had invited Mr. Riley to come tonight, is that correct, from the YMCA?
Yes.
And he is not here. I guess the question is, and I know you, the chairman, sets the agenda. I have several questions that I would like to ask, and I guess I just want to make sure that we are going to get are we going to get a forum with Mr. Riley here?
Yes. Mr. Riley, at our last meeting, I asked Mr. Cully to have Mr. Riley at this meeting. He did that. Mr. Riley actually called me last week and said he had some family issue he was trying to work around. He called me last night and said he wasn't going to be able to make our meeting today, but he would be willing to come back. So we'll ask Mr. Riley to come back to our next meeting. That would probably be very beneficial since we'd also asked Mr. Riley at our last meeting to give us an update on the fundraisers. He said he would be prepared to do that when he came back. So, again, Mr. Cully, you're going to ask Mr. Riley to come back with the fundraising numbers that he said he would have for us, and we'll go from there.
So I guess it would be more appropriate. I just want to make sure. I think the people of Caroline County have a right of transparency and questions to be asked here. So So we are going to, it's definitely going to be on the agenda next.
It will definitely be on the agenda.
Okay.
I can't promise you Mr. Riley will be here, but it will definitely be on the agenda. We will invite him and try to have him here.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Seeley?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of questions in advance for Mr. Riley, and maybe we can get these ahead of time. But I'm kind of curious at how many change orders there have been to the building that they're currently working on, and what the financial effects of those change orders have on the final cost. We haven't had any report on the building, and I know we're doing grant funding, but I think we should at least be able to hear where we are in the scheme of that process.
That was it?
And I'm going to wait for Mr. Riley to be at our next meeting.
Mr. Underwood, any questions, comments? Ms. Akers? I want to hear. This is polite company,
I'm certainly
though.
not a defender of Mr. Raleigh, and I'm not here to defend Mr. Raleigh, but the fact is his father-in-law was having some surgery, and they live out of town, so it's not that he just didn't show up tonight. It's a fact that
Yeah.
I think
He's in Delaware or something like
yes,
that.
he addressed that with Mr. Thomas, that there's a legitimate reason. And so I don't want anybody to get the impression that he just doesn't want to show up. The fact is he does have a legitimate reason for not being here tonight, and I doubt if any of us sitting at this table, if their in-laws were having surgery, I think we would address that. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Underwood?
Mr. Chairman, I think we're all in agreement that there are some questions regarding that haven't been answered that we'd like to have answered in terms of funds that have been raised, in terms of where we need to go to make this project what it should be, what we'd like for it to be, and what we believe it should be. So I'm in agreement with my colleagues that we would like to hear some answers. And I think only Mr. Riley has some of those answers, or if staff members have answers in terms of the monies raised, and we certainly can get it from them. But I think whatever entity needs to bring the answer before us, because the reality of it is we're looking for solutions. As one of the persons who originally supported and said a YMCA would be a good thing for the community, I still believe that. But I think we still need to have questions answered so we're all on the same page. Because like I said, there's really nothing that should be out of the question in terms of, if we have a question, why can't it be answered? Because in the end result, we, the county Board of Supervisors, voted to stand with the Y to use this $5 million to build a Y. So I think there should be a level of conversation as to where we are, where we're going, and certainly how we're going to get there. So those are my three questions, but again, I don't think anyone can answer that until we get Mr. Riley here and ask him those questions.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, you just got back. We were talking about the Y, the bond payment, and Mr. Riley coming. Do you have anything you want to add, or you just let it go?
Not at this time.
Okay, good. All right. I think we're good there. Mr. Cully has everything. On the question of openness, we have put more information on our county website this year than we ever have before. So we're getting more and more out there to make sure everybody knows what the county priorities are and what we're trying to do. So we are trying to do that, and this is just another case. All right, agenda item number 7. Boy, I've been waiting for this one all day. In 1988, IBM invented the AS400. 1988.
It's a workhorse of the computer world.
I almost forgot I was in polite company. It's a piece of junk. But okay, we're going to buy a new one, or we're going to buy a reconditioned
No, we're buying
1988.
No, we're buying a new box.
new.
It's got new technology in it. The operating system is basically what's still the same. The technology should change some.
Mr. Thomas, same form, fit, and function, just new guts.
Okay. I only
It
laugh.
does have a new processor in it, new discs. It's a different box. Every time you upgrade one,
35 megabyte discs.
I know they're small.
My cell phone's smarter than that thing.
Right.
Yeah, but
Just
it
so we all get perspective. That's the reality.
I agree. I agree with you. I'm not a major proponent of the S400, but on the PC side, PC servers don't tend to stay up as reliable. The 400 just basically runs, and it runs everything. The big issue of changing from the AS400 to some others is retraining all the people that know how to use it and run it currently. So the training portion of a new set of software, whether PC-based or whatever you end up with, is going to be where you really have a lot of issues. You get a treasurer's office, commissioner of revenue especially, that all know how to do what they do on it. I wouldn't want to go have to learn what they do. I know just enough to get in trouble with it in their various departments. But it does run everything we do, all the way to finance, payroll, everything, even into utilities, and it all integrates back reliably. Is it perfect? No. But the software is basically, most small governments in the state of Virginia use it. The people that don't, for the most part, that are larger, have their own IT staffs and support various programs with it. So we do have a users group. We have issues. We have people we can call that suffer with the same problems and know how to get it fixed. But I'm sure Mrs. Hatcher would get up and say she'd like to have a new financial software package, and it costs about $200,000. So I mean, you know, and in the training that goes along with that, I think is going to be more than. I think if we really want to get there, we need to. If we're at the end of life of this machine, we need to set a goal before we're at the end of life of the next one that we want to move off of it and do the work, the studies, the plans, and how we get there to get off of it. But we can't wait till it's sort of on its last leg and out of maintenance to do it. So I certainly would support that, but I think that's a process that we put in effect in about 2 years from now and start studying that, so when this one wears out, we're ready to move to another machine.
This is the third AS400 at least that I've been part of buying.
About every 7 years, I've bought a number of
This is the third one. The fact that I used to sell HR and financial systems for 7 or 8 years makes me really think this is a dinosaur. Well, I don't think it's a dinosaur. I know it's a dinosaur. And part of the things, we asked Mrs. Hatcher for some things, and Pony Express was reliable at one point in time. Stagecoach drivers also had to get retrained. And, are we just going to keep going with a stagecoach? There's things we ask for, line item things, she can't get it out of there just because of the way it functions. But all right, we're going to buy it? Is there a motion to approve the purchase of the AS400? Is there a motion to approve the purchase of the AS400?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion because it's been recommended by staff, and the staff has said, hey, if we buy this, then let's put in place a plan that we can get off of this in the next 5 years or next 3 years or whatever.
They didn't say that until just now, though.
Well, he said it, so let's go with it.
He said it until just now.
I've got to trust him every now and then, and what he says. So, but that's my motion. We go ahead and purchase. That's staff recommended.
I'll second.
We really don't have a choice. I'm letting you know I'm going to vote no, but anyhow, just so you can count ahead of time.
First time tonight.
Just so you can count ahead of time. Any more discussion on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Oh, I got two. Mr. Black.
Aye.
Mr. Seeley.
Aye.
Mr. Underwood.
Nay.
Mr. Akers.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor.
Aye.
And I too vote nay. The motion carries 4-2. Before we leave this agenda item,
Ridiculous.
What are we going to do?
It's ridiculous.
before we leave, you could buy QuickBooks. You could buy QuickBooks for $500 and do the same thing you're doing on this AS400. Yeah, you could. QuickBooks Professional for $2,000. All right, before we leave this agenda item, this was in the budget for last year. right? This purchase was in the budget for last year? Okay, how come we didn't buy it last year? Timing? Yeah, but part of the, and this is for everybody, part of the process, because we are fairly hard on other agencies or entities that roll their money over that didn't spend it when they were supposed to. But there's no real guarantee that you could get this money rolled over. We could have
did say
voted,
for capital, right?
right, but we could have voted no earlier and said, don't roll us over.
Yeah.
And then we would have been stuck. My point is, if it's in your budget for this year and it's a capital expense, we go through great pains making the budget work, and then you say, well, okay, I'm not going to buy it until after the year, and I'll roll that money over. That's all I'm saying. That's the point. Nothing else to be read into it. We do the same thing with other people. We can't be critical of them if we don't do what we're asking them to do. All right? We're finished with day 7. 8 is capital projects report and informational calendar. Oh, and we do have another consultation with legal. Didn't you tell us enough then? No, you didn't? You want to talk about it?
We have another
Yes.
closed session.
I got a push mower. You want to use that?
I got one that I keep fixing.
Push mower?
Yeah.
He's a technology guy. Okay. Capital projects update and information calendars.
I don't think there's, unless there's something that you have a question on the capital projects, most of those things are still moving along. We are real close to being complete on the wastewater treatment plant and actually start treating wastewater here in the next several weeks. So the Dawn Phase 2 is also pretty much complete, just getting some power, hooked most of the piping and things, tanks have been installed. So most everything is pretty self-explanatory on that, and I don't really have anything to point out too much as far as upcoming meetings, just our regular meetings. State Fair is coming up in September. Everybody will be getting geared up for that as well.
I had a question, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, go ahead. Mr. whatever your name is. Whoever you are.
I have a question. On our county website, when we contract with a company, let's say, for example, for the radio system, just using the radio system we bought, do we put copies of that contract on our website for the public to see? I mean, that we've purchased it? I'm just saying for full transparency on contracts, do we do that?
I don't think we have, but we can certainly create a place and put that out there.
Could we start doing that for all contracts
Right.
or when we sign a contract for whatever it is that we put it out there so that there's full transparency from the county?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we should. We have that on CD. I don't know if you still have the CD, but we had that on CD, and maybe we could.
I was just using the radio system as an
Right.
example, but I mean, whatever, all contracts. It doesn't
That's
matter
good.
whatever we was, so there's, okay, thank you.
That gets us into a website developer or manager, which we don't really have because we're borrowing somebody from economic development. Okay. Any other questions on capital projects? Mr. Cully, you sent me, I can't find it now, you sent me vacation schedules for managers? Did you send it to all of us?
I sent it to everybody.
Y'all got it? Okay.
I don't know whether, one board member sent back, he didn't want it anymore, so I didn't know whether who wanted that or not. I did send you an update out today. I can send
That's
you the
what I
rest
thought
of
it
them. I was going to send it last week, somehow I got tied up, but it's pretty much the same.
Okay. I think that's good to have. I'm a slow learner, so if I get it, the more I get it, the more I need it, and it works, I'll know who people are. Thank you, Mr. Underwood. So I think that's good to have, so I won't be calling somebody saying, why didn't they call me back? All right, we got to go into consultation with legal, briefing was by staff, exemption 2.2, 3711A7, Code of Virginia regarding.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I thought you wanted me to remind you about the Virginia Sports Complex expedited public hearing.
I was going to do that as closing board comments.
Yes, sir.
I wrote it down, but thank you very much for reminding me. He remembered. Where are we here? This one? Regarding Aqua, Virginia, and Ladysmith Water Company. So that's what our closed meeting is for. consultation with legal counsel. Motion to that effect?
So moved. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion,
That's,
as you.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, give us about 5.
Hello, Robin. Good to see you.
We're back, we're back. Motion to come out of closed meeting?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Underwood, seconded by Mr. Seeley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Mr. Black, do you certify that only those things we went into closed meeting were discussed?
I so certify.
Mr. Seeley?
I so certify.
Mr. Underwood?
I so certify, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
certify.
Mr. Taylor?
so certify.
And I so certify. That takes care of it. The closed meeting, there was no action from the closed meeting. Closing board comments, Mr. Black,
None at this time.
Mr. Seeley,
No, sir.
Mr. Underwood,
No, sir.
Mr. Akers.
No, sir.
Mr. Taylor.
Sir.
I have one, which would be, and you can direct Mr. Fincham, for either a joint public hearing with the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, or an expedited public hearing for Virginia Sports Park and modification of their proffers. If we could have a motion to that, and then we'll direct staff to work with Mr. Fincham and get
So
the
moved,
earliest
Mr.
possible
Chairman.
date.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Mr. Seeley, second by Mr. Black. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. That motion carries. That was all I had. Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
All in favor, aye. Aye. We're adjourned.